The rain.
In there in a second.
She's gonna. Damn, I think she's gonna do it too. All right.
So much for a bath.
She does it. I could have dried her off if she's still in there.
No.
No. I'll be inside in a second.
Hey y'all. It is May the 27th, I believe, 2018. Y'all, I wanted to see if we could get the buffering up out of the way. People were over here washing the dog, and it got a little bit traumatic. All right, kind of spilled out all over the place. But y'all, I wanted to join y'all and talk with y'all about some stuff. Maybe one or two things. Maybe see what's on y'all's mind. I don't know if up in this experiment that we got going here. All right, we'll check the comments. See, yeah, it is. It's Deb. Hey, what up, Deb? What's going on? I thought I would get. Gosh, what in the world? Dog's going crazy. Dog just got a bath. She's rolling around with. So she's going nuts. So it's a little bit of calamity around here. And this is kind of a late broadcast. It's 12:47 where I'm at over here. So it's a little bit late. It's kind of heating up here, San Antonio, Texas. All right. Lately, I've been making this and that video. Not really many videos and stuff. I've been kind of distracted. All right. I just wanted to let y'all know. Actually, I made a number of videos and just haven't uploaded them, man. Just like about different things. All right. Just haven't uploaded them. All right. For whatever reason, I got to get my stuff together. As far as my technology, all right? But in the meantime, there's been a whole host of things that we could talk about. Well, certainly one thing that I wanted to talk about and get out of the way is the developments in that Florida shooting case, the Parkland shooting, the alleged shooter being Nicholas Cruz. The developments are few and far between. At least in my opinion. I mean, it's very sparse. It's very minimal. But however, every day or maybe every 2-3 days, you got some sort of new development that all the different publications have to talk about, or just at least mention. They don't really dive into anything, into too much depth. Oh man, hey Savannah, what's going on? Let us know where you're at, how you're doing and stuff, man. What's going on in your neck of the woods? All right, because that's particularly what I want to dive into. Kind of get my mind off of the different various things that I've been investigating recently, because sometimes you do have to step away. Dude. Sometimes it's hard to step away. And you get overly invested in these certain things. Like, for instance, this morning, I was kind of doing my own due diligence as far as the developments that we've been getting off this Parkland shooting deal, which is something that keeps going on and on. It's certainly not as significant at all in any way in comparison to the deal that's going on in South Africa. But however, still, it is an important deal just because all sort of publications need us to know about it. They won't stop talking about Parkland. And the thing is, obviously, that's a tragedy. And nobody denies that it is a tragedy. But, they're coming out with these little morsels of this and that. All the while, it seems as though they're trying to incriminate this Nicholas Cruz. It seems as though they're trying to basically solidify the fact that he's guilty as all hell, is what it looks like. All right. Meanwhile, not giving us any sort of credible evidence, like anything that really honestly could be used in a court of law to prove anything. They're not even See, at this point, it's like they're going out of their way. That's what I want to explain. Before we move on to more important topics, y'all just let me know what it is y'all thinking about out there, especially about what's going on in South Africa. That should be number one on the list, to be honest with you, from what I've been hearing. Um, the thing is, all right, okay, I had a gut instinct when I first started paying attention to that Nicholas Cruz case. It was about a week after the fact, to be honest with you. For about a week, it fell under my radar. I didn't really think about it. I knew about it, but I didn't think about it. It wasn't until a week later that I got the gut instinct that, you know what, something really, really fishy is going on here. And I would like to see some sort of evidence. And so I looked all over the place, found none. And to this day, there's still none. There's absolutely none. It doesn't matter who you talk to. You talk to anyone, you ask anyone anything, and say, hey, can you please give me some sort of evidence that shows that Nicholas Cruz did it? They have none. Absolutely none. They'll give you this like hearsay, they'll give you this and that little tiny bit of information that proves nothing. Nothing at all. So with that being said, before we move on, the latest development, the latest little morsel that we got from him is an interview with Zachary Cruz, which would be the little brother of Nicholas Cruz. The interview was, I believe, conducted by Inside Edition, if I'm not mistaken. They did this little interview where they chopped up basically 5-second clips of Zachary Cruz talking about some stuff. All right. Before we address the stuff, if you've seen it or maybe haven't seen it, before we address the stuff, I mean, it's sickening. It's mind-boggling. It's mind-numbing. Makes me want to throw up, and I don't even know how to throw up. But it makes me want to throw up when I see people chop up these interviews into 5-second clips. You're trying to tell me that Zachary Cruz can only talk for 5 seconds at a time, or that he has nothing else to say. It's like, wow, this is amazing. It's amazing. I want to point out that fact. I mean, this interview is shameless. To be honest with you, it's done by Inside Edition. A lot of publications like to do their little interviews that way, in which, they cut it down to 5 minutes. You have 5-second intervals where people are talking within 2 sentences. They answer a question, and then they have nothing else to say. Basically, it's how it's made to look in this little 5-minute clip. This interview, all right? And if you see this interview that I'm talking about, plenty of times you're going to see the headline, oh man, Zach Cruz talks about his brother. Apparently his brother didn't know how many people he was killing. He was unaware how many people he was killing. I seen that headline. All right, that was about a day ago, 2 days ago. Talking about, okay, see, the 5-minute interview leads you to believe this, that of course Nick Cruz did it. In fact, he was talking about doing it with his brother. He was talking with his brother about it, and of course he admitted he was guilty, and that's the end of the story. All right, but it's 5-second intervals. We have no idea what he's actually saying. We only hear little tidbits, all right, that kind of incriminate. That's the thing, they kind of do. It's all circumstantial in the end anyways. One sentiment that I wanted to put across for people to ponder upon right now before we move on, the sentiment that I wanted to put across is, I mean, shoot, I have no idea what's happened here. I really don't. I have no reason to believe anybody, to include Nick Cruz. I don't have no reason to believe you unless there's evidence that backs you up, and I've seen no evidence. All right? So the sentiment that I want to put out there is, they're trying to incriminate Nick Cruz in all sorts of different ways. Meanwhile, the truth is leaking out little by little, and they can't even help it. All right, so they're trying to incriminate Nick Cruz in all sort of ways with all sort of circumstantial evidence. And we're supposed to take all their circumstantial evidence, and we're supposed to amount to like a guilty verdict, all right? I mean, or at least the jury is. The public is being given this like kind of in a way that they want the public to make a judgment as well. This is why it's on national news all the time, every time. All right, so they're constantly looking for different ways, and you'll know it. They're desperately looking for different ways to incriminate Nick Cruz all of the time, all the while not giving you one stitch of actual evidence that you could use, all right? Case in point, like we were mentioning the other day, the defense attorneys could have asked. They were being forced to demand evidence from the prosecutors. All right, they could have asked for evidence that actually be worth a damn, but they did not. Why didn't they? Why didn't they? See, I think the lesson that might be learned throughout this case is that even that doesn't matter. There's also the kids that are messed up out there. There's a lot of kids out there who's loners. There's a lot of kids that fall through the cracks out there. There's a lot of kids who, unfortunately, get put on pills out there and stuff like this. All right, I don't even care if, to be honest with you, I don't care if Nick Cruz said he wanted to shoot up the school. I don't care if Nick Cruz had a plan to shoot up the school. Of course, he should be charged with that. If you're planning to shoot up a school, you should be charged with it. You know what I'm saying? If you're saying to the people behind the scenes that you want to shoot up a school, you should be charged with that. But that does not mean that you shot up the school. All right? I mean, these are two different events. One is talking about it. One's actually doing it. There's still no evidence that he did it, regardless of his past and stuff. And basically, that's what they're doing. They're crucifying this little boy. They're trying to take his past, whatever it is, and say, oh, well, that makes him guilty. That means he shot up all the people. No, it really doesn't. The evidence does not show it. And that's the thing. I don't know what to believe. And, of course, they're keeping all sort of evidence secret. I don't know what to believe, all right? But that's all right. The thing is, I don't really believe anything at this point. I want to see the evidence. You know what I'm saying? But they're going out of their way to not show the evidence. They're going out of their way. So my point is, it doesn't matter if he was planning to do it. Had he not done it, I mean, if he didn't do it, then it doesn't matter if that's his, like, fantasy and he dreams about it all the time. All right, it's kind of sick that he would, but we know nothing about Nick Cruz. They're going out of their way to make sure we know nothing about Nick Cruz. Before we get off of this topic, I mean, I might suggest that if they were in any sort of way, fashion or form, looking for justice in this case, the very first thing they would do is sit down Zachary Cruz for an interview about an hour long, about an hour and a half long. Just let him talk, dude. That's it. They would sit down Nick Cruz and just let him talk. All right? They're gonna say, "Oh, that goes against policy. That goes against procedure." I'm sure it does, but y'all aren't in pursuit of the truth, anyways. All right, but that's what they would do. However, if they did that, their whole little game would explode on them. All right. At the same time, I wouldn't be surprised by anything. I'm not saying that anything happened for certain, and I wouldn't be surprised by anything. I wouldn't be surprised if they used Nick Cruz as a wind-up toy, just like that they wanted to, and he did shoot a couple people. But you know what? I do believe there was other people shooting other people as well. All right, so just because Nick Cruz is guilty, even if he was guilty, does not in any way prove that he was the only one guilty. All right, that being said, you might want to see the surveillance footage. That being said, I don't think you're going to see it because neither the prosecutors nor the defendants want you to see it. And that's how that's going. I mean, it's like I had a gut feeling at the beginning that something fishy was going on here, but as the days go by, it only becomes more and more crystal clear. And it's crazy to think about it. It's crazy to think about it. That all said, even in their 5-second clips of pure manipulation that they're putting out there for people, in which they're getting other people to admit to Nick's guiltiness, if they're in fact doing that. All right, they're getting other people to admit to Nick's guiltiness or something like that through interviews. Irregardless, the truth leaks out. All right, for example, you'll hear Zachary Cruz talking about, mental health issues. You'll hear him talking about demons, if you will, which is a couple different topics that we cover here on this channel. We cover them a lot. There's a lot of different channels who do cover mental health awareness. That's the thing about it. It's like nobody disagrees that Nicholas Cruz was bullied to all heck. Nobody disagrees about that. And that might have had something bad to do with his mental health and other things like that. Meanwhile, before we move on, I don't know if y'all seen this out there. I'm about to move on. I don't know if y'all seen this because it's also breaking news as far as Parkland goes. David Hogg and his band of merry men and girls recently, if you haven't heard, just conducted what was called a die-in. A die-in. It it does seem sick and morbid. It does seem twisted and perverse. But David Hogg and his gang of hoodlums conducted a die-in. I'm sorry about people who like him. I'm not. You can like him if you want, but he was over at a store, like a grocery store, and his friends conducted what they called a die-in protest, in which they laid down on the ground and pretended to be dead for like 7 minutes. And I wish I was making any of this up, but that's what they did at a store called Publix in order to protest. And meanwhile, they only did it for 7 minutes. It's kind of awkward. Everything that they did that day was very awkward, but that's what they just did. All right. I want to remind you, it's these people in the alleged narrative, the story that goes down, it's these people who actually bullied Nick Cruz or had a hand in bullying Nick Cruz all throughout his life. And kind of, if the official story was true, those very bullies are turning around and pretending to be dead at the grocery store right now. It's like, dude, they're bullies. They can't stop and they won't stop, dude. They're always bullies. Somebody needs to stop them from bullying everybody. They're still doing it. They're doing it on national TV, all right? So that's all I really wanted to discuss as far as the Nick Cruz case, because honestly it's moving like molasses in the wintertime, dude. Like, it's really, really slow and it's very agitating. You know, you go crazy just staring at it the whole time. And so I've been trying to step back. There's other things that we could talk about, but I want to see, I'm going to check the comments right now and see what everybody's talking about. Hello to everybody out there. Angela, I see you out there. Of course, Savannah is in the house. I was trying to make sure Savannah was all right, man. I hadn't heard from Savannah in a long time. You know what I'm saying? Let's see what y'all are up to. Bop bitty beep bop. Man, y'all been writing a lot. All right, hold on. We got Deborah. She's also in the house. That's from Canada. I mean, I assume that y'all are in where y'all are from. Canada, South Africa. Let me know. We're talking about stuff. We are. Let's see what Savannah's been saying. Savannah, glad to hear. Glad that you're here, says Deborah. Was wondering what you're up to. Well, we are in an unreal situation here in South Africa in emergency mode. See, that's what we really wanted to find out. All right, I'm gonna start to read through the comments because I really want to know what is going on in South Africa. I've heard a lot of different things. I've heard of Malema being up to some wild stuff. I've heard of like contract killings, so to speak, all Demolition Man style. I've heard of crazy things. We want to see what's happening on the ground floor and figure it out, because it was a very popular topic and it still is, but at the same time it's being pushed to the side by other topics. Meanwhile, I think it's reaching a fever pitch as far as rhetoric being thrown around and what exactly mobs of people are capable of doing in South Africa. All right, not only that, I did want to bring up the fact is that I remember reading articles talking about Cape Town in particular, and that Cape Town was going to have its water, basically its municipal water, shut off due to a drought. Now, I don't know if that happened. I'm going to have to look that up. I don't know if people out there have heard already. Let us know in the comments what exactly is going on in South Africa and stuff, because especially concerning the violence, but also with that whole drought situation, has that gotten any better, or what's it looking like? I'm going to try and read through the comments real quick. Let's see what it's saying in there. Beep, 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 beep. All right. Savannah Sunshine was asking about Santa Fe. Oh, you know, that's a more recent shooting. Took place here in Texas. I understand it's like near the Dallas area. It could be misunderstanding because I didn't know where Santa Fe was at to begin with. But Savannah asked for about Santa Fe, which we might talk about a little bit in a second. But honestly, I wanted to know about South Africa more. So let me scroll down in the comments just a little bit more as we can talk about South Africa and figure out what the heck's going on over there. Gotta go. Just wanted to say quick. Oh man, I think Savannah actually dipped out. Beavis is in the house. Shout out to Beavis. I don't know who you are, but as you're a new one on me, I appreciate you. Angela, yeah, she did catch it, but I don't know just how long this broadcast will be, anyways. I just wanted to discuss a couple of things with y'all. Mostly that Parkland thing, which was fresh on my mind. All right, and how absurd it really is. I mean, just to step back and look at it on a global scale, sitting here in Texas, we probably feel a lot more secure than other places. All right, as far as our laws go. However, you can see that the criminal justice or the justice system in general really is overwhelmed at the very least. I mean, it's an absolute joke at the most. It really is really, really bad. And it's not really serving us. The media is definitely not serving us at all. In fact, it's just making it worse. But the thing is, it's kind of bad and it's going to get worse. I think we should expect that and stuff. People are still going to gobble up this Inside Edition type stuff. They want to know about scandal. They don't want to really get to the bottom of it, but they do want to know about it, and so they sop it up on these little 5-minute video clips that they got, these little interviews. Right? That's all happening, and it's happening to certain degrees. It really is. Like, I can't look at my situation and I couldn't imply that I'm in dire straits at all in that regard. It's not exactly a picnic here in Texas, but there's a lot of places that are getting it a lot worse. My mind actually goes to folks that I know up in England, kind of to include, Ghetto Boy, who's obviously a dear contributor to this channel. But there's other folks that I know in around England. I know it's not a super big place. And in and of itself, it's got a lot of different areas as far as people's rights are concerned. People's well-being is concerned, it seems. Like I said, I'm sitting here from Texas, and I'm looking at a situation going on in the UK, for example. And in no way am I jealous of them, man. Like, it really seems like dire straits. Shoot, I see they're talking about Caitlin Nicole Davis up in the chat room. I might talk about her later and stuff, but I really wanted to talk about the UK with y'all real quick. I'm sure a lot of y'all have already heard. I mean, the preposterous nature that is the UK, what's going down, all sort of people getting arrested for all sort of weird things. And we just hear about it from across the pond. We just hear about it. And honestly, from my vantage point, I wonder what in the world is going on. I got to wonder about people's safety all over, like across the board. But what's most significant right now, and it's actually a couple days old, this bit of news is that Tommy Robinson, a lot of y'all may know who that is, done been arrested. He's, if I'm not mistaken, like in prison right now, or at least headed there right now. All right, and I'm still getting the details as to why exactly that is. What exactly he did. From what I understand, he was reciting some sort of information, and they told him to shut the hell up, and he didn't shut the hell up. Probably is what happened, and so eventually, they got him on contempt of court or whatever business. Maybe you're talking out of turn. They took him and they snatched him up, and I don't know how I don't know how it happened. Be honest with you, but I've heard that he's looking at 13 months in prison up in the UK. Right. Just from what I heard, I can only say from what I've heard, the different various bits of information that I've brought in, Tommy Robinson has had a pretty tough story. All right. I mean, honestly, he's had quite a rough ride, is what it seems like. All sort of people threatening his life, threatening his family's life, all over the place in the UK. Why? Because basically he's been pointing out that many rapes are happening. Many rapes. All right? I haven't heard the Me Too movement talking about him at all, but he's been hollering about all the many rapes and other things, to include violence and all sort of other things that might be correlating with the immigration of a certain kind of folks that we're just not even going to name, a certain kind of folks that have caught up all in the country, and since then It's been plenty of rapes. There's been plenty. It's just been an upkick in them. So Tommy Robinson been talking about that for a while, and as you can imagine, his life has been threatened for many years. His whole family's life has been threatened for many years. And on top of that, you got laws in the UK that forbid Tommy Robinson from having even a gun to protect himself. All right, so it's weird because I try to imagine a situation, but I hardly can because being from where I'm from, a situation where like people are seriously going out of their way to threaten you all over the place, you and your family, and you literally by law cannot keep a gun. Right? In fact, nobody can in your country except for the people coming to kill you. They'll keep a gun all they want. All right, so you try to imagine that and all that Tommy has put on the line for many years. And not only that, his wife. I mean, you got to think about this wife must have nerves of dang steel, dude. I don't hardly know any ladies out there who'd be able to tag along for this ride. All right, this is some serious stuff. But at the same time, I mean, somebody's got to speak out against the rapes. Am I wrong? So Tommy's been doing that for like a decade now, speaking out against the rapes, all the untold numbers of rapes and all sort of violence. And all sort of criminality, he's been speaking out against it. And certainly that's what he was doing this time when he got arrested. All right? And put into jail. I mean, it's kind of a dire situation in that, you know, even if there might be people out there that say, oh, 13 months, well, that's not that long a period of time. He needs to get over it. Probably. I'm sure there's people out there thinking exactly that. All right, first of all, you're talking about he's in a country where nobody can protect themselves at all with a gun at all. Now he's got a wife, and I'm sure she's run off in hiding. She better be in hiding, the wife and children. I mean, they're literally in a deadly situation in front of the world for everybody to see. Not only that, you got Tommy in prison now. The man who's supposed to protect the family, he's being taken and whisked to prison. Why? Because he's speaking out against these rapes. Me Too movement ain't going to bring that up. Not at all. But not only that, irregardless, no matter what time of the year, Tommy Robinson's life would be in jeopardy going into jail because you got to imagine, not only is there a lot of Muslim folks, I mean, I'm sorry, people who will go unnamed, not only is there a lot of those people out in the public, but there's a lot of them in the prison system as well. So either Tommy's going to be put in complete total solitary, which is already kind of torturous in and of itself, or he's going to be put in general population where he will absolutely be targeted, probably, more than likely. And not only that, Ramadan, if you're not aware, it's starting up. All right, it's not looking good. And I thought we would talk about that just for a second and stuff, man. There's definitely stuff that people are really probably putting into the works right now. But everybody, you know, I'd suggest that everybody at the very least think about it. Think about exactly what's going on right here and the types of precedents that it sets. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, like I said, I know a lot of people from the UK, and they're very good. A lot of people. I mean, you get the best of the best from the UK. But at the same time, at this point, it is hard for me to recognize their laws. Their laws do not protect their citizens, not even in the least. All right, they do the exact opposite. And so I really can't, me personally, it's like I have a tough time recognizing that country as a country. All right, that's a country of mayhem, dude. That's a country of anarchy and stuff, man. I mean, it might look a certain way, but that's like a third world country now at this point in regards to their laws. I can't stand by it and stuff. And that's what's nuts. You know, we've entered in such a Twilight Zone situation that there's even people in America. There's even people in America who are watching on TV like the other week. What's her name? The Princess Kate or whatever her name is, and the prince. They got married, Prince Harry, and they got married, and everybody's watching. It's like who the hell cares? Can't nobody care about this for number one. First of all, we made America to get away from all that royalty BS. That's exactly why we did it, and well, that's one of the reasons why we did it. And the thing is, they got their little royalty going on. It's like, dude, who cares about your royalty? Y'all have a country full of anarchy and lawlessness. Is what it seems like. It's not protecting the citizens. Dude, I'm not jealous of none of them out there, man. Dude, if I was living in England right now, I'd be so scared out of my mind, to be honest with you. Is it not even Like, the thing is, I don't have a gun near me right now. It's not that a gun makes me feel so safe. It's the fact is that I live in a country where a gun could be there. You know what I'm saying? And so it gives people pause to think, well, maybe I shouldn't go around just mugging everybody, killing everybody, because there could be a gun. Anyways, Tommy Robinson may very well be looking at a death sentence. And people have said this to include Lauren Southern. They've also reiterated that he could very well be looking at a death sentence right now. That's what it might be looking at. And it sets all sort of precedents. It sets all sort of precedents. And the world is looking at the UK right now, and a lot of, I mean, at least where I'm from, we're wondering what the heck. We're wondering what the heck y'all put up with. All right, I wonder if a ghetto boy or someone from the UK or has been in the UK can offer a little commentary on that. In fact, I've seen a lot of people been talking to include Critical Thinker. Shout out to Critical Thinker for being here and stuff, man. I appreciate what he's doing, man. He's showing his channel a lot more dedication than I have been as of recently, man. I've been in a kind of a fog lately, man. There's been a million different things that we could have talked about and stuff like that. It's kind of gone by the wayside and stuff. Sometimes you need to step back and think. Sometimes you need a drink because you're real thirsty and I don't have one. I might have to get one. All right, but shout out to Deb, obviously, and Angela. Shout out to Beavis, especially because he's a newcomer. I ain't never seen Beavis. All right. Shout out to Critical Thinker. He said, "What up, dog?" He said, "Free Tommy Robinson." For sure. I don't know if he said that before I brought it up, but absolutely. Like, that's the thing about it. You know, there's too many people. There's too many people who know about Tommy Robinson. All right. The very second something happens to Tommy Robinson, really, honestly, that's a powder cake. All right. Like, I want anybody to not tonight, better not nothing happen to Tommy Robinson, because it is a powder keg. You're taking someone who's shouting at the top of his lungs against rape, and you're throwing him to the wolves in front of everybody. It seems like lawlessness. All right, it's going to set hella precedents. Hella precedents. All right. Anyways, Critical Thinker, he said he was charged for breach of the peace. You know, that's interesting, and thank you for providing that. I forgot what was their exact terminology. Tommy Robinson was charged with breach of the peace in a land that has no peace. Yeah, you can't have peace, man. Nobody got safety there. Nobody does. All right, how are you gonna have peace? Apparently, he was breaching the peace in a land that has none. All right, he was arrested, charged within 13 hours. I mean, it's mind-boggling, ain't it? It's mind-boggling. Within 13 hours, they were like, "Dude, you've spent a year in here. All right, good luck with that. Forget about your family and stuff." It's like, dude, within 13 hours. It's really breaking all sort of records. I mean, it's really setting all sort of just crazy precedents, right? Meanwhile, you know, I'm surprised that the royalty can. It's just like I'm surprised they're even televising their stuff at this point. Like, that anybody would look at it without just being filled with rage. All right. However, it's like I would like to get the perspective of people who is actually in England right now. Are they freaking out or what? You know, I don't know how many people watch the YouTube channel. I've known some people from England and stuff like that. We got Ghetto Boy and stuff, but I don't think he's here right now and stuff, man. It's really would like to know, especially in regards to that. It seems like a small place, you know. It seems like a real small place. So there's definitely different places that you could be that would be more safer. But in the end, you cannot speak against rape. That's precedent being set. You can't speak against rape. All right, especially if it's done by some guy class in which they were not going to mention a certain type of people who you just don't talk about. All right, shout out to Philip. I noticed Philip Boyd was all up in the room. I'm gonna have to get a drink. I'm certainly gonna have to get a drink in a couple seconds, so I might have to leave y'all for a couple minutes. And I don't mean to do that. Technologically, I got some malfunctions and stuff like this. My mouth is getting all dry. And after a while, dude, it's not gonna look pretty. So I'm gonna probably put the phone down real quick, and I'm sure that y'all could discuss whatever y'all are discussing. Before we go, let's get what it is a critical thinker is saying right now in regards to Tommy Robinson. He said he may get killed in prison. Yeah, He may get killed in prison. I wonder where the prison they're whisking him off to is. That's what a lot of people have said, and it seems quite reasonable to think that he will. I mean, he's like enemy number one up in prison right now. It would seem who knows what's going on in there. All right, there's no way of knowing. Their justice system has barred us from knowing anything. All right. So he said, but remember, he was covering a story about a grooming ring. I want to talk about that in more detail and see and get y'all's thoughts about that because he was, like I said, covering rape. He's covering these dang pedophile grooming rings, and he's talking about that. So no, he's talking about the wrong things. He gets whisked to prison. Why? What was he talking about? The wrong thing. All right, he's talking about the wrong thing. So that's why he gets whisked to prison, and I want to talk about that more in a second. Critical Thinker says, no way, the more public you are, the safer you are. This is true. I have to agree with that sentiment for anybody out there. The more public you are with your information, the safer you are. That is a promise. I mean, just, if you're trying to keep your information, say to yourself, you're going to get killed, and that's for certain. That's for certain in this game that we're playing out here. You probably should go as public as hell. Thing is, as far as I know, Tommy Rob's been whisked off to prison, and I haven't seen or heard nothing from him at all. So we're going to see the developments. Certainly sub to Critical Thinkers channel. He's got a lot of good content. Certainly do it. And I don't mean to mince words. Certainly subscribe to Critical Thinkers channel. His first stint in prison, boiling sugar, and had his teeth knocked out. What in the dang world? Oh yeah, I heard something about that. Boiling sugar. Oh man, that's kind of, who knows? They think of all sort of things to mess people up. They've been terrorizing Tommy Robinson in particular to an extent that's nightmarish, man. I mean, it's hard to even contemplate. It really is. Now they got him in prison and stuff. We're about to talk about that in a second. Let me get a drink real quick, and I'll be right back. And we're going to talk about Tommy Robinson, all right? It's very imperative. All right. I'm back, y'all. I had to drink from the hose, man. They done lock me out. Anyways, sometimes I forget I'm out here, man. They lock me out and stuff. I had to drink from the hose. It's terrible, but I don't want to leave y'all alone. We're talking about Tommy Robinson. And know that he's talking about pedal grooming rings right now, all right? And see, the problem that's happening as far as the media goes is he's talking about the wrong people. He's talking about a God class. He's talking about the untouchables, basically. You don't talk about them. Don't you ever talk about them. Don't say nothing bad about them. Don't tell about the truth. All right? If they did something bad, you just don't talk about it. This certain group of unnamed people who basically been infiltrating the UK, slowly and surely. All right? So he's covering that because technically that is kind of like, it's almost customary in their cultures lots of the times, to be honest with you. It really is. And so he's covering that. But what I want to stress is a lot of people, they'll get caught up on that. And half the people who hear about this, they'll think, oh, those freaking disgusting people that will go unmentioned. Those dang people and their culture and their customs, all with their pedophilia and stuff like this. We can't have it. We don't want that. We don't want that around us and stuff. And then you have another half of the people who hear about this instance and they'll think, oh, man, Tommy Robinson's really trying to shine a bad light on all these people who will go unmentioned, who have been infiltrating the UK. He's trying to shine a disparaging light on it, and he's actually causing more damage than he should, man, because it's not always them. It's not always their fault. They're not the only ones out here doing the pedophilia and stuff like that. So he's hating on Islam, and therefore he's got hate speech in him. Therefore you got to throw him in prison, maybe 13 months and stuff like that. See, people are seeing it in two different ways, all right? And there's certainly some of us out there to include myself, but to include probably a lot of y'all out there who sees even farther than that. You know, it's not about concentrating on the Muslim folks necessarily. Although I mean, it's just really easy to tell them apart from you. It's not only that, but it's the fact is that the system itself is catering to that group. It's putting them on the untouchable status. You know, it's making sure that they have no go zones here and there. They're making sure that they have their people in government. I mean, dang, dude, they got y'all's mayor, dude. Your mayor is this now. They infiltrated you. It's basically what it seems like they done. All right. So they have a customary thing where like pedophilia is kind of like it's, you know, don't talk about it too much, but you know, so that's what it seems to be a lot. Not all of them, not all. There's some out there who that isn't their custom. All right, and we need to acknowledge that. All right. But that's not even actually the point that I wanted to stress. The point I wanted to stress is the system involved is there to cater to them. And you're not talking about Muslims. I mean, you're not talking about the people who will go unmentioned, all right? You're talking about people in your damn government that are even worse, people. And so if you understand that, you know, okay, there's pedo rings, and Tommy's trying to speak out against the pedo grooming rings, all right? Well, somebody who controls prison wants him up in prison because he's talking about the wrong things. You see, he's talking about the wrong things. Do you see? It's very incriminating. It very much seems like, well, okay, perhaps there's people in y'all government writing up these laws, enforcing these laws, who for some reason they're not so worried about the pedo rings. That's not of their concern. They're not trying to get justice upon that. That's what it seems like. It seems crystal clear, actually. Every single day it seems more crystal clear that that is exactly what's going on. I mean, you want to look for the worst of the worst, you know where to look. All right, you just keep diving down that rabbit hole. These people don't want Tommy to speak. Who knows that? Who knows what might happen to Tommy Robinson up in prison? But you have to understand, if and when it does, it ain't no going back from that. And it's not even my opinion. It's not something that I would want to happen, but bad things gonna happen. And not for me, dude. I'm not gonna do anything at all. I'm gonna sit back and see what the heck's about to go down. Better than nothing happened to Tommy Robinson. Too many people know him. Too many people know him and stuff, man. It's getting wild. But, I mean, what it does is it sets a precedent anyways. If they were to get away with this, I mean, they can whisk anybody off. They've been whisking anybody off, dude. It seems very lawless. I mean, we're over here, we're thinking about what's going down in South Africa, you know, for very, very good reason. But dang, dude, it's all over the place. The UK, well, I mean, what's going on over there? See kind of what they've been talking about up in the comment section. By the way, where's the pooch? She's over here. I showed her a little while ago. She got a bath. She got a bath at the beginning of this broadcast, and now she's worn out and stuff, man. Boppity beep bop bop. Let me read what else is going on. Just click on the icon. Keeps me way down on the list. Critical Thinker said he's had 2 strikes on YouTube. I would definitely have 2 strikes recently had I been posting everything I wanted to. You know what I'm saying? There's all sort of things that I could get strikes on, but I've been kind of lazy. Critical Thinker has 2 strikes. I mean, YouTube is what it is. All right, Critical Thinker, he was saying they're now a protected class. For sure, they are a protected class. Philip Boyd has found a critical thinker, and a critical thinker has found Philip Boyd, and that's all good. I guess we do need more voices out there. I always like to encourage people to put their voice out there. At the same time, I have trouble with keeping up with it. Sometimes it's hard to get it up in your life. But certainly there do need to be more voices out there talking about this sort of stuff, man. And the thing is, I think that there are a lot. I've actually seen a certain kind of influx of voices out there talking, all right, being more willing to open up and share and stuff, man, about whatever it is that's on their mind. I've been seeing a lot of it. Perhaps we'll talk about that sort of thing later. Just the kind of influx, the kind of explosion that I've seen as far as people talking at great lengths with other people who you might not think that they would talk to, but it's actually fun to do it. Philip Boyd says, I'm getting a bigger, better phone soon. Oh man, see, I need to up my technology as well. I do have the money to go get a laptop cord, which is what I need to be doing. I've needed to get a laptop cord for a while in order to perhaps put on a decent, like, podcast, man. I took it like a setup where you could see me, you know, I have to be so far to my face and stuff. Maybe be out here or something looking at me. It'll be so close up to my face. And there's different other technological things that I need to get and stuff, man. And I should be getting it. Voices do need to be heard. In the end, man, the right voices will be heard and stuff. In the end, perhaps not everybody needs to speak, but everybody who does need to speak is right now sincerely thinking about it. All right? And out there's a lot of people who want to hear. Earlier, we were mentioning that case, that Nicholas Cruz case, Parkland shooting stuff, that interview with his younger brother, in which it was about 5 minutes tops, right? In which they're trying to incriminate Nick Cruz even further. We were watching it, and like I said, I mean, in total, it's like 5 minutes. You know, and the reason that they might give you is because, well, the general public just doesn't have much for an attention span, dude. In fact, the reverse is opposite. I know that you've been seeing and hearing about that a lot, and you've been thinking about it. They say the general public has such a small attention span. It's got a shrinking attention span. It really doesn't, to be honest with you. It's kind of, I might have suggested to you that might be another one of their lies, that our attention span is shrinking. The thing is, in many ways it is, because we're just not concentrating on certain things. But our attention span, might I suggest to everybody out there, is actually growing. It's actually growing. And you'll notice that certain things like podcasts where people sit down and talk to each other for an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours, just talking to each other. You'll notice that those things are actually extremely popular. You know, especially when two people come together who, you know what I'm saying, like that Kanye interview, Kanye and Charlemagne, really sitting down and talking, having a picturesque background, dude. That was super viral. You know, and it happens all the time. The Joe Rogan experience. You know, people just sitting down and talking. That's what people really want. People want to get down to the nitty gritty. People really want that evidence. And you have these publications out here making a mockery of you, man. Just kind of like, you know, just shoving it all up in your face. Like, dude, of course you're not going to get anything substantial. You know what I'm saying? Of course we're going to incriminate this young boy, you know, as much as possible. Of course we're not going to show you no evidence, but we want you thinking about it all day anyways. Dev says, for sure. Critical Thinker says, they disappear Cruz real fast to A. Dude, you're not considering one huge aspect. All right, cool. I wanna hear about the huge aspect, because I might not have. There's a lot of different angles to go at from here, but I've actually considered a lot of different angles in which that I haven't really talked about too much as far as Nick Cruz. But I am very interested in hearing the huge aspect that we might be missing thus far in talking about Nick Cruz. Says their ability to tweak our brainwave activity. That was with regards to attention span. That's interesting. That's interesting. We're going to have to talk about that as far as our attention span. And tweaking it, I guess what you're getting at is on like a technological basis, as far as them tweaking it to their own consideration, or something that they might want, is what you're talking about. And, you know, I'm not. Yeah, I would have to say that's not beyond my grasp for what's possible, and in fact, very plausible and stuff. Certainly, they do have a lot of different technology. At the same time, I like to maintain, me personally, that, you know, for all their technology, they really have a hard time keeping it under wraps, and they really have a hard time. They have a hard time exacting their procedures as far as this technology, getting the exact result that they might want. Something always seems to go awry with their little experiments, if you will, in regards to brainwave activity. Um, the patents was see that's the thing. It's hard to follow comments and stuff just because I'm not sure what it is that you're talking to when you're talking to it. But it is true, or I mean, it's not true. It's interesting to think about all the technology that might exist, especially not only on the general population, but something that we mentioned here before is on individuals, to target individuals. I mean, that's obviously something that they have capabilities to do. So, in regards to, for instance, the cruise situation, the Parkland situation, you'll never catch me saying that I have any idea what's going on. I don't have no sort of evidence on it. Like, could with his brain, you know, could they been using him like a wind-up toy, and it didn't even work, and so they had to go to Plan B and start shooting up the school themselves? Or are they planning for Nick Cruz to be a wind-up toy, and it did work, and he did wind up shooting a couple people, but they went ahead and shot up some more people just to make it look and seem worse? Or who knows what happens? All right. All I know right now is the defense attorneys recently, when they were forced to demand evidence, coincidentally, they did not demand any sort of surveillance footage from school. I'm wondering, is that ever going to be seen ever? You know, at the same time, that's the thing. That's why I can't tell you that Nick Cruz definitely didn't do anything. I can tell you that he's innocent because he hasn't been proven guilty. Yeah, the feed does kind of get choppy. I'm sorry about that, critical thinker. The feed does get kind of choppy. I'm going to have to work on that. I got a pretty good Wi-Fi signal, so I don't know if it's just the processor speed or what it is, but sometimes it'll be buffering and stuff like that. And it's really something I got to work on. In fact, you know, I've been pushing it off, and I've been saying that I would do it. But really, honestly, this week I think I'm going to, you know, get that laptop cord, maybe get one or two things that might make it easier to make one of these podcasts without so much buffering, without so much chopping up. All right. I guess, you know, to get out of here, just so that this podcast isn't too long, about an hour is what I'm going to shoot for. You know, basically, an hour seems like a good amount of time. Before we get out of here, you know, I just want to put out there, especially in regards to the Nick Cruz case, I don't know. I have no idea what happened at all. And nobody else does, unfortunately. Nobody else does. It could be a world of possibilities. Who knows? But it would be very convenient, would it not? Like, for example, with Eileen Warnos, if we're going to jump to another case that we talk about sometimes here on this channel, she's a perfect candidate for a wind-up toy. When you think about it, someone with not very much family, someone who had a rough upbringing, someone who may not be understood, someone who might easily fall through the cracks, someone who might easily go under the radar, someone who might be gifted but just misunderstood, though, like someone who could get wound up. All right, Eileen makes a perfect candidate. I'm not saying what she said is true. I'm saying she makes an exact perfect candidate, and so does Nick Cruz. You know, I mean, it not only is it possible, but it's more plausible, it's more reasonable than the story that, you know, everybody's been given and stuff like that. It's really going to set quite the precedent. And regardless of what happens in the Cruz case, and in many other examples and stuff, there is no going back from it. There is no going back from it. All right. And meanwhile, we're all up in the tribulation and stuff like that, but we can have success by simply seeking the truth, man. A lot of people have faith in a lot of different things out there. The thing is, as people out here might I suggest, you have to have faith in something, irregardless. Whether or not, even if you want to admit to it, everybody out here has faith in something, or else you wouldn't even have the faith enough to get up out of bed and breathe. All right? There's a reason why you're doing whatever it is you're doing. A lot of people have faith, like, say, in law enforcement. So they hear about these kind of stories and they'll think, oh, conspiracy theory, oh man, this guy's really going out on a limb. Meanwhile, these stories that we're discussing is just a little bit more reasonable to think that a lot more is going on behind the scenes and stuff. A lot of people have faith in the police. You never hear me talking bad about the police, really, here on this channel, man. I don't have no bad feelings towards the police or anything like that. It's just to say, some people put their entire faith in it. And some of those people will even call themselves Christians. And for whatever it's worth, maybe they are Christians. I'm a different kind, just in the way it's like, dude, I don't have faith in nothing. I really don't have faith in anything, man. I don't have faith in what they're saying about Nick Cruz. I don't have faith in what Nick Cruz is saying. I don't have complete faith in what people out there on the internet are saying. I don't have complete faith in what I'm saying. All right, because sometimes what I'm saying could prove to be not good or kind of just a little bit off, man. It's like, dude, people need to start giving that faith in truth and really putting their faith in truth. And the thing is, it's not necessarily something that I'm suggesting that people do. It's something that I'm seeing people. It seems like we're being forced to. There's people out here that's being forced to not buy into certain. We got very comfortable buying into certain lies. We don't have that comfort anymore because it really is knocking down our back door. All right, as far as the justice system trying to eat us alive, yeah, it really is doing that. As far as the technology that exists that could mess with our brains, yeah, it really does exist. All right, and people don't. We can't afford to even have faith in the government no more or these laws because they are knocking down our back door. They are about to kick in our front door in the middle of the night, come snatch us up. Things of that nature. They're being forced to have faith in the truth and in the process. And in that whole process of things where people are being forced into the truth, you're going to see an amount of investigators that's unbelievable, that's never been seen on Earth before. You know what I'm saying? And they're going to go ahead and start taking care of it. I believe that's what we're starting up right now. And there is a silver lining to all this. It's just that the situation, it is getting worse and worse and worse and worse. And certainly it will get worse and worse. But it really does have to get so bad until we get up out of our comfort levels. Also, I want to get out here and mention a sentiment that I hear about a lot. All right. Mind you, everybody's welcome here, man. I love everybody's perspective. All right, I want to hear about it. All right, but a lot of people, they come up and they ask the same question over and over. I'll hear a lot of different people ask these certain questions over and over about the fact that even if they don't say, "Oh man, it's bad out there and it's getting worse," they might say, "Oh man, these bad things, terrible bad things are happening to good people, or maybe just okay people, or reasonable people, or so I saw bad things happen to children and even babies and stuff like that, man." They'll be talking about this, and they might ask, well, what does God have to say about this? All this bad stuff happening, all this bad stuff that's getting worse and worse and worse. How would God let that happen? Right? What kind of reasonable God would let that happen and stuff? At the same time, I guess the sentiment that I wanted to leave off on, something that I've been dwelling upon, especially lately, is that it's for us to see, it's for us to analyze, it's for us to acknowledge and be a witness to all the bad stuff. There's a lot of people who understand that as individuals, but also collectively, we go against God, and there is only one. And we're talking about everyone, to include ourselves, man. We'll go against God in certain ways. And bad things, it might happen, but it's so that we pay attention to it. If we were not to pay attention to it, if we, like, for example, if we weren't to think about all these bad things happening, going on, and instead dive into a world of drugs and stuff, dive into a world of just thinking about ourselves, you notice how the problems would get worse. They would continue to amp up. If you're living in a society where everybody just turned a blind eye to everything and just did as much drugs as it possibly could to be happy and to stay happy, that the problems would only get worse. Thereby, if you go the other way with it, it could be, I'm not saying that it is, but it could be that all these bad things that are happening, that continue to happen, that are only amping up, they're there to show us that, we shouldn't really have faith in anything. We shouldn't get comfortable with anything else. Oh, we have a good government. Oh, they're taking care of us. Forget that. We shouldn't have faith in that government anyways, because who knows? They could go on the backslide. Anything, man. They could burn down. It's like, dude, we shouldn't have faith in the government to bring us comfort. No, at the end of the day, to me personally, it don't matter what your religion is. We should have faith in the truth and our hunt and our thirst for the truth. And the thing is, I'm saying it, and I don't mean to be taken the wrong way. I'm not saying it as though we should all do it. Oh, man, I want everybody to do it right now. I'm saying it in the way that it's already being done. It's already a process that's happening right now. And there ain't no going back from it. There are two sides to the coin. And you know what I'm saying? They cannot coexist much longer. They're really, really coming to a boiling point, it seems. And there ain't no going back from that. We're all up in the tribulation, by the way. Thank you for everybody for coming out. Thank you for all y'all's suggestions and your opinions. Also, go ahead and leave comments and stuff about what we should talk about on the next podcast or what we should address. Things of this nature, maybe what's been on your mind, maybe different things that you might want to see on this channel and stuff, man. I appreciate all y'all. It's been about an hour. I'm thirsty as heck. I gotta find my way inside this house. Stuff's getting all hot. I'm up in San Antonio, Texas. All right, so I'll holler at y'all a little bit later. I appreciate all y'all.